So then you can go and you can cancel mod or you can manipulate it before you execute it.
Got it. That's, yeah, because we always...
All right, what's next? Give me your next problem. Come on.
Yeah. Oh, this
ready.
is easy. Burn.
Now I'm warmed up.
Yeah.
What else you got?
So I got to look into
Do
that.
you have any landing problems? Any are you floating out of the touchdown zone? What do we need to tackle next?
The touchdown.
Welcome aboard the 21.5 Professional Pilots Podcast.
Rock on. You're on 121.5, the emergency frequency.
It's a show by professional pilots for professional pilots.
I looked back at them and I said, I don't think we're at the right airport. And they go, I don't think we are either.
Each episode, we bring you fascinating conversations with industry experts.
I think I should be a go-to on how to deal with 63, 64-year-old men.
You're going to chase it like a dog chasing a school bus.
But we're not just about the serious stuff. We're here to have fun.
And I like to sit with pilots a lot of times. I always say they're better looking than Tom Cruise.
It's a whole thing.
The 21.5 Professional Pilots Podcast is your destination for everything aviation, whether you're cruising in the flight levels or just starting your journey.
Here we go, Maxwell. A double hotel room special testing the Wi-Fi powers of our friends at the Marriott from multiple angles.
Don't jinx it, dude. I've been lucky.
We have been lucky lately.
Bandwidth has been very solid, so.
I love it. I love it. Welcome. What's going on? Where are you? You can't even let me guess your hotel room with your curtain.
I know. I'm in Albuquerque. Of all exciting places.
Beautiful.
Looking forward
Downtown.
to getting some sort of green chili enchilada this evening. That's about it. That's all I got.
Spectacular. I love it. I've been joining you from beautiful Bozeman, Montana.
Whereas you win.
You're like, oh, this is great. Get out of the heat of the desert. We'll go to Bozeman. It's 90 degrees here. Great.
There's no escaping.
I know.
This summer.
Geez, it's just, you're inescapable. How's your trip going? What's going on?
No problem. Sorry, what'd you say?
I said, how's your trip? What's going on?
Just, it's a grinder, man. Real early East Coast wake up. Sometimes they'll sneak in there and then you do the math when you're there and you're like, dude, this is like a 2:45 a.m. alarm. And you're like, what am I doing? So I will be trading the rest of these trips for the month.
We had a fun little corporate airline crossover last week. I had an overnight in the same location as you. Well, same in SoCal. So that was fun. I got to drive up to Long Beach
we had like a close a brushing in Midway. Remember you landed I landed right behind you.
Yeah.
We talked about that. And then we both ended up, I was in Long Beach, downtown Long Beach, and you were in Orange County, right?
Yeah.
So you so graciously drove in Southern California traffic to hang out in downtown.
It was magical.
It was fun. Had some beers, went to the Tiki Bar.
That was fun. Yeah.
Had a nice French dinner. It was all good things.
This is a great time. Did you feel like you were on a corporate overnight for once? Access to a car.
I know.
Fine dining.
The whole thing.
It's magical. I actually want to talk to you about Orange County for a minute. Speaking of Orange County. So we have CPDLC, and you use CPDLC at Southwest also, right?
Yeah, both in the corporate deal.
And in the corporate airplane. Okay. So CPDLC on the Collins, which is what the Challenger has you get the reroutes, right? So if you'll get your clearance sometimes from CPDLC, and then there'll be some type of a change. And on the Collins box, you have to accept the change. Like you have to insert the mod before you can accept the clearance.
Yes, I realize that is weird.
And it wipes out everything you've done, especially like us where we, pull the flight plan down from Datalink. And then it oftentimes will wipe out, like if you had a transition and a departure, sometimes it'll delete that. And it's just like this landmine. And it's like worse than doing nothing, because it's like you don't know what's loaded, and then you've got to reload. Oftentimes, whatever it put in, you've got to override that again. So I'm just curious for the listeners out there. Am I doing it wrong? Or
you have to, I'm trying to think. It's been a while since I've gotten a reroute in the Collins system, but I'm pretty sure you can insert mod, accept the reroute, but nothing is forcing you to execute that.
Oh.
So then you can go and you can cancel mod or you can manipulate it before you execute it.
Got it. That's, yeah, because we
All
always
right, what's next?
insert
Give
and
me your next
execute.
problem. Come on.
Yeah. Oh,
I'm
this
ready.
is easy. Burn.
Now I'm warmed
Done.
up.
Yeah.
What else you got?
So I got to look into
You
that.
have any landing problems? Any are you floating out of the touchdown zone? What do we need to tackle next?
The touchdowns. No, haven't had that recently, but
dude, they still every time when you taxi into position on 20 right in Orange County, have you seen those tire marks?
oh my gosh.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. They're like right there. You're just like,
There's
what?
like it's some sort of dual wheel airplane and really long skid marks, including the nose wheel tire. So that obviously had been like turned very aggressively, and they're going off the runway at about a 30 or 40 degree angle. I'm gonna have to ask next time, like, what happened here? What? Every time, dude, I go on there, I think about it all day.
Think about it all day. When did this occur? And don't think,
you know what I feel like? I feel like it's one of the. I think I got you onto this. Don't you follow that Instagram just called Shit Landings?
Yes.
I feel like it's something you would see on Shit Landings.
Yeah.
Because it's always these like massive crosswinds and like some 7.4 landing in this huge crab and like all over. Just like did you see the UPS 747? The new 747 that drug an engine?
No, I don't think.
Dude,
was that recent?
Watch that video. Yeah, he was getting hustled in the wind, dude. Like, I don't know. That's one of those ones you drags the engine, there's spire and sparks, and you're like, jeez, that's not even the guy's fault, dude. Like,
right. Well, it's one
gnarly.
of those, like, I wonder on a big airplane like that, do you even know? Do you even know you've dragged? I'm assuming you would know you dragged an engine. I mean, we've all seen those videos where like the 737s will like grind off the bottom part of the scimitar.
Yeah.
Winglet.
It's like, dude, it's like 8 degrees or something. Like it's not a lot
that much. And I would wonder, have you heard anecdotally anywhere from, I don't know, a large 737 operator, like if you would even know if you ground that wingtip off?
Oh no, the winglets, but an engine,
yeah, the wing, like, yeah. But I mean, I'm like the winglet. I wonder if you would even feel it. It's crazy.
I don't think so, dude. Those things are there's like, I mean,
yeah,
they're like a 1/4 inch thin at the tip at the bottom of the winglet. It's just really thin.
It was like, I remember it was my very first couple months at American Eagle. I was flying the Saab 340, which isn't a huge airplane, but it does have the
It was for you.
Yeah, it was for me
at the time.
Yeah, it's a little too much for your boy at the time. I remember we landed and taxied in, and we had one of the main landing gear. We had like blown a tire and had no clue. We texted in, the ramp was like, oh, like waving to us, and we just had like, the remains of a tire on one of the side. And so it's funny to think about, like in a big airplane, you may not even know what's happened,
Just like that Mooney when we blew the tire, remember? We barely knew.
Yeah, it was a little different. Why were we just talking about that?
I don't remember, but Dylan and I got the bright idea like in July in Phoenix. It's 1,000,000 degrees, and we're gonna fly to Prescott. It's just because we could, essentially. Yeah. We flew up there to go play golf, and we come back and we land, and literally rolling out and turning onto the exit, you just hear, and the wing dips down. And you're like, how did we just blow a tire at like 5 miles an hour? And what happened, the tube inside of the tire actually blew because it was so hot. Like rolling, I guess, in conjunction with landing and then rolling down the pavement, it heated up enough and the tube blew. So we were like just disabled. Remember, we're standing out there.
That was the worst part. It was like 3 o'clock in the middle of the heat. And we're like, now what? We just have a disabled Mooney on a taxiway. Like, was that the first time you've ever been on a disabled airplane?
I think so, yeah.
And I'm just sitting there going, I got, and then, but I was surprised how quickly they got somebody out there with the little like dolly to jack the wheel onto, or the gear onto and tow it. What was that dolly fee? That had to be you could charge whatever you want. If you're the guy with the dolly at a busy airport, I feel like that's a $500 like minimum for me to get the dolly out.
How much do you have in your checking account right now?
Yeah, exactly. Like that's the ultimate, like, right place, right time business. We need to look into that. Maybe that would be a good, and we never talked to Amigo Aeroto about that. Maybe we could get back. Start these pilots start their own little business with a little remote control dolling.
I think the FBOs, have that covered.
They got that covered.
Typically, yeah.
It's probably true. Probably
it's
true.
It's kind of a niche thing.
What other problems? You're just in such a giving mood right now. I got to think about my other problems here. But yeah, I'll have to try that CPDLC technique. That was the only annoying thing that's been happening lately. Is getting
I'm like offended when controllers like issue me a frequency change, or like I got a reroute yesterday. I'm like, I feel like my kid. Just text it to me. Like, I don't want to talk. Just text.
That's what I do.
Please.
I that's what I say. Whenever I go pick up takeout for my wife, and she'll be like, I think I'm like, stop. Send me a text message with it as I'm driving there. Like, I'm not.
That's well. And the thing is, I try and set a good example because I always try and send my requests via CPDLC. I haven't figured out how to send like a weather deviation though.
It's so funny because that was my next question to you. We had the same thing. I was like, I want to just go 20 right. How do I do that? I guess it's just a free text message. But there isn't like, you'd think that would be a baked in.
Free text is not supported currently, I don't think.
Okay.
I don't know. Is Reggie, are you there?
Reggie is unfortunately inaccessible at this point. I mean, I have to do the Advanced Aircrew Academy Reggie ad read in his voice.
Reggie's in the studio, text, and unfortunately, we are not in the studio.
Yeah, so exactly.
We're at a real disadvantage here.
Great launch a character stuck in a position when we're never there. Brilliant.
What else is going on? What else are we doing? I've a lot of preparation for my big Idaho trip that's coming up. 6 days.
I got a quick question for the listeners. We have a fair amount of video equipment. You've seen we have like a cool 360 cam on the wing. We have meta glasses. We've got a bunch of Max is going to have a Starlink out there, so we can get some content. But we don't want to record. I mean, I think especially you and I, who send cringy pilot content back and forth to each other all the time to snicker at it. We want to record if something interesting for the listeners, but we also don't want it to be like just total.
What's up, guys?
Yeah, exactly.
We just landed here at Johnson Creek. It's a beautiful day. Now we're going to get our camp set up.
Yeah. Guys,
I'm not doing that.
We got the Cub out here. So what would be interesting? What would you want to see from Max's trip?
If anything, which you will not.
Or do you not want to see anything? Maybe
you don't care. We're professional pilots. Max flying around his Cub in dirt airstrips in Idaho is irrelevant and dumb, which is fine. It literally won't even hurt my feelings.
It'll make his trip better because you won't have to worry about getting footage and sending it to the Khaleesi and exactly. So let us know if it's something you want to see.
People think it's interesting. I'm obviously very fired up about it, and it's fun, and it's something that is fun for me to talk about if people want to hear about it. So I just don't really know. Just trying to feel the vibe, bro.
Yeah,
figure out the vibe.
Because you're not. Well, a lot of those too are all like you're. A lot of those creators are all like peddling a bunch of like sponsored equipment too. So then they have to give these shout outs to the. The tent pole or the tent, whatever's that shade thing Trent Palmer had that was like off the wing. He's like, what I like to do to relax. And he pulls out this tent thing and sets it up for who knows how long. I haven't seen that, really? Yeah, that was
I'm so tired of hearing about Squarespace. I can shoot myself. Right.
But yeah, he's like, what I like is this little awning thing. And I'm like, really? Maybe it's cool. I'm not throwing
but I think that's what this is a full-time job, dude. Like,
I know. He's got to do it. It's just funny. Like, that's the thing that you're excited about on the trip. It's probably awesome. No hate, but anyways. So the prep is going well.
Oh yeah, well, that's like half the fun of it for me. Like figuring out all the gear and like just constant packages showing up at my house because stuff I've talked myself into needing.
Yep.
And then in the Cub, what's really cool in the Cub, at least mine. I don't know how the rest of them, but the rear seat is a sling seat. So it kind of suspended from the top of the airplane. It kind of screws into the bottom so it doesn't like actually swing around. But you just undo two little screws with your hand and pull them out, and then you can store the seat up against the ceiling. So you can open the whole back up. And it's a ton of room. So it's really cool. Like I was figuring, I was kind of stressed out that I was gonna have too much stuff, and then I put the seat up, and I was like, wow, this is actually pretty impressive. Fit a lot of stuff in here. So it's cool. I'm just, gearing up to my heart's content. I get Starlink. I have a Starlink. Our friend Roy, this just drives him insane. But I have the Starlink, and then I have like a router, so like you can hook the Starlink in the plane because we'll be camping in the woods with like a cable or wirelessly, and it'll like repeat it to your camp, so you can sit in your tent and FaceTime your kids and stuff. So the whole thing.
Play grow
solar
garden
panels,
with your kids.
batteries, yeah. It's a lot going on, but it'll be fun. We're gearing up, doing the flight planning. It's long. It's gonna take like 8.5 hours flying to get there, but once we get there, it'll be a great time. So I'm looking forward to that.
Great. This is going to be amazing. Okay, you're talking about some gear. Can I do a gear review, pilot gear review?
Please.
Is that permitted, would you say, at this point?
We'll see how it goes.
I use the Bose ProFlight headset, which I think you do as well, right? ProFlight 2s. So I'm using actually Bose earbuds here, and anyone that uses the ProFlight, it's not exactly like this, but it's similar, right? If you can see this, if you're watching on video, it's that like silicone earpiece that goes on the earbud, and it's got like the round part, which goes in the ear, and then it's got like the little hook piece that goes kind of up into your upper ear to anchor it into place. So the ProFlight 2s have this. If you've had the ProFlight 2s, you know about this. And I saw online somebody said that you can replace that with a foam tip, and actually it's made by the same.
Wait. Just the tip?
JTT, just the tip. Yes.
Okay, go ahead. Continue. I just wanted to clarify that.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And that foam tip is made by Comply, which is the same company that makes the foam tips for the Clarity Loft. So they're like the high-end, like third-party supplier. So I said, okay, I'm going to order a pair of these and give it a shot for the ProFlights. So it's called the Comply 400. I think the ones I bought was it's called like the Max Grip version, so it will really stick in your ear. And ordered that up, and I'm looking for the receipt right now. I believe it was about $30. It was $30 for these.
For two?
For three pairs.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yep. And so got those, and no, I'm sorry, $20. $20. And I'll have a link in the show notes so you can check them out. I got the Max Grip version, so they really can stick in your ear.
You mentioned that.
And it's been really good. So on the first flight, I put one on one ear and then left the original in the other ear to compare them. And I would say the noise canceling was good, maybe slightly better on the foam. I thought more comfortable. And overall, after a couple legs with one of each, I did prefer the foam. Now, there is one drawback, and I'm going to see if I can show you this for people that are watching on the video.
Is it the fact that you can't clip it onto your thing?
So
that was the first thing I thought.
You can't clip. Well, it is true. You can't clip it. So it's very similar to these here, where it's got the oval that you basically slide in there. But if you can see, there's a little hook right here. See that little hook thing that's sticking out? That barb, that's on the ProFlight 2s as well. So the foam piece does not cover that little barb. So if it's in there, depending on how it sits, you can feel that barb slightly. From the shape of my ear, it doesn't bother me, but it could potentially bother some people. I could see a scenario where that happens. So I don't know. Right. I have an extra pair. Do you want to take them? Also try them.
Yeah, I'll try them.
But overall, because I like the Clarity, because you use the Clarity Loft also, right?
Not anymore. I'm all ProFlight. I got 2 ProFlights now.
Okay. But didn't you prefer the feel of that foam?
I did until I got a ProFlight.
So you actually like that silicone ear?
I do. It's easier to take in and out.
Yes.
And I do like the fact that, like, especially when you're flying, well, both. Like before we push, we have the intercom off.
Mm-hmm.
So I typically have the one, even though you can put it in and double tap it so you can hear through the earbud.
I never do that.
I do that sometimes, but I typically, there's a little clip and you can hook the earbud on there onto the earpiece, the piece that's against your head. And so I would miss that because also when corporate flying too, when the owner or passengers come up and talk to you, it's nice to take it out and clip that one on, or just and I usually leave that one out until like we're ready to take the runway, because so oftentimes, in case somebody, oh, we forgot our passport.
Yeah, exactly. That's never happened.
So I would miss that, but I'm, me, Dylan, I'll try anything once.
Okay, give it a shot. No, you don't lose any of that functionality.
Well, how? Because okay, well, I'll take your word for it. We'll have to.
All you're doing is taking the rubber piece off. That silicone.
Yeah, the rubber piece is what clips onto the.
No, the cable does.
I always clip the little rubber piece on
there. No, the cables. It's meant for the cable to hang there.
Oh, I thought it's for the little hole in the rubber piece. Oh,
no.
Right. Well,
yeah. Wow, very educational.
Good to know. Yeah.
See, I helped you with a little problem here. This is great.
Terrific.
What a great program. Any other huge crises to solve here?
Boy. Yeah, when are we doing our CFI reinstatement check rides? That's a big problem I'm looking to solve.
Into the fall.
I'm also looking to see, so next month, this is big news too, for the general aviation crowd. So, Mosaic was revealed at Oshkosh, and there's these rule changes. And so essentially, you and I are both signed up to go to the Light Sport LSA Aircraft Repairman's Certificate course. It's 2 8-hour days in like an hour outside of Kansas City somewhere. And it's only like one provider. It's very difficult to get in this class, but it was only good for experimental light sport, ELSAs, right? And essentially what that means is you get a little certificate and you can sign off your own annual, which typically on an experimental, you just have to have an A&P, not someone with an IA like on a certified airplane. But then you can do it yourself, because the A&P situation is getting very tough.
It's alarming. Yeah.
And if you have I have the technical capability to do it, but I don't have the legal authority to do it. And so this gives you that. But now with Mosaic, this same certificate will allow you to sign off the annual on any experimental aircraft that you own. And it's the same with the experimental LSA. You could sign off anything that you own, only airplanes you own. You can't get that and start your own, business. Right. It's just so you can sign up your own stuff. So now it's for any experimental, not just ELSA, which is huge, because like that was my problem with the Moose too. Like since I had bought it and it had some work done, it was partially complete, I didn't have the 51%, so I couldn't get the repairman certificate, yada, yada, yada. So anyway, that's a huge deal. So now I'm sure Rainbow Aviation's been reinvigorated with people seeking this, because now it's like way more broad. So Dylan and I have signed up. I talked Dylan into signing up with me, but it's questionable whether he's going to show up. So we're hoping he does.
My wife does listen to this podcast, so
his wife, also known as my sister. So
Lindsay,
if you're listening, please let Dylan go. Please don't send me to the Comfort Inn in Kingsville, Missouri, by myself. It's going to be
great.
Sad.
I'll be so much more handy around together. The house.
It's a lot of content for the show, so please.
The skills I get from that course will help me to more quickly fix the Roomba and the pool equipment.
Yes, everything.
Faster abilities to repair any electrical issues in the house. It's going to be a big win. It's going to be a huge win for everybody.
It's good for all of us, really.
Yeah.
So
everybody wins. Maybe in light air conditioning repair. We'll see. That should be good.
Maybe we'll just bring everybody.
There we go. Surprise trip.
Let's get a big house.
Okay. Kalisa, we're going to have to delete that part here because we're doing a surprise family trip. You're going to need to cut that.
Surprise. Where are we going? It's a secret.
You know how you always
is
say...
there a Great Wolf Lodge in Kansas City?
Quickly, let's Google, is there anyone based out there?
Is there a Gaylord in Kansas City or anything anything with a water slide? It's probably where we're at. Just anywhere with an indoor pool and water. Well, no, it could be outdoor. It's September.
My kids love barbecue. Oh, gosh.
Just real quick, in and out.
We used to fly into Kansas City downtown. Have you ever been to that airport?
Yeah, I have.
Wheeler? That's a cool airport. We used to go in there.
It is kind of cool.
All the time. And the FBO there was super cool. And they would if you text them, you'd be like, hey, go get the Jack Stacks barbecue for us. And it would just be delivered right to the plane. It was unreal. I remember trying to eat a full plate of barbecue in a beach jet. And just being like, there's no way this.
There's no way your
well.
shirt's coming out unscathed
like,
from
this
that.
Can't. I do not have the technology to eat this correctly. So, yeah.
All right.
No.
What else we got? Well, let's get to the meat of the show here.
We got to jump into this. Yeah, we got a lot to get here. Not a lot of time. So let's go. All right, Max, let's talk about some reviews and comments. First review, I will let you tackle, and then I'll read a couple YouTube
Best
comments.
aviation podcast out there. I've been listening to this pod since I was a student pilot years ago. Nowadays, I listen to the show while sporting my commuter vest incognito mode on my deadheads. No matter where you are in your aviation career, you will get tons of value and entertainment out of this show. Dylan and Max bring a wealth of experience to the show, as well as many guests they have on, such as the ever-enthusiastic James O'Neill, the straight talker Ted. Give this podcast a listen. You'll be sure to come back every week. Cade. Thanks, Cade.
Unbelievable, Cade. Great
kind.
review. A couple YouTube comments here. First one's from Dan. This is in reference to the Aurora suitcase that we reviewed in our luggage review series on YouTube. It says, my wife is a non-pilot professional road warrior who travels 1 or 2 weeks per month for business. She has this big bag and loves it. I'm an airline pilot who currently has an 8-year-old Stealth that needs some work. I'm buying an Aurora as well and will use it short term and then have it for spare once my Stealth is back in service. Dan, I have a prediction for you. You're going to use the Aurora, and the Stealth is going to be the one that's going to be in your backup after a little while, because you're going to lift that thing a couple times and you'll be like, oh, this is quite nice. Just a guess. And then another YouTube comment, and I just threw this in here because we have some new listeners who maybe might have missed these. But this is in reference to the Roger Reeves series we did, which started in episode 92 and continued in episode 93. So if you have joined the party recently, go back and listen to those two. And Roger Reeves is a very prolific drug smuggler for the Escobar cartel. But this review says, I'd say make a movie about Roger, but dang, he's lived such a crazy life. It would have to be a mini-series, and it still wouldn't cover it all. I'd love to see it through. I'd love to see it, though, only if he was taking part in making it and telling the story, and it wasn't some Hollywood BS.
That was potentially in the works. Last we heard,
he was talking about
it a while ago. So
part of his story is covered in the movie American Made. Most pilots have probably seen it. That's one with Tom Cruise, but not really.
Well, he's got like so many stories, dude. It's just hard to wrap your head around.
I mean, I think we had 18 hours of
If anybody who listens to the show regularly has not listened to that,
go check it out.
Very controversial for a while, but
it's
probably like the only hate mail we got was regarding that. But
still worth it.
Obviously, we didn't care, so check it out. It's entertaining.
Thanks for the comments and the reviews. If you leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts, we'll be happy to send you some stickers. Just shoot us an email, info@215podcast.com with your mailing address, and we'll get those out to you. Appreciate that. On to the mailbag, Max. I'm going to do this in my Reggie voice, or do you feel like you have a better Reggie voice? Who wants to do this?
No, this is snarky British accent.
I don't think I can even duplicate it. All right, mailbag is brought
this
to you.
This episode is brought to you by Advanced Aircrew Academy, where training isn't just box checking, it's brain engaging. Let's talk about runway excursions. You know that awkward moment when you meant to exit Foxtrot but ended up plowing daisies past Zulu? Not ideal. The runway excursion prevention module dives into the stuff that actually keeps you on the pavement. Things like stabilized approach criteria, landing performance factors, and how not to turn a red one-way into a slip and slide. It's all delivered on a pilot-friendly online platform that makes compliance simple for managers and tolerable, dare I say, enjoyable for pilots. So if you'd like your landings to end on the runway and not in a phone call with the chief pilot, head to aircrewacademy.com. Advanced Aircrew Academy, training that keeps you between the lines.
Well done. That was pretty good.
Was it? Thanks.
Wow. You didn't even practice that. No, just jumped right into it.
Pretty much like this whole podcast. Every time we do it.
What'd you think about that, Dan? Speaking of getting some hate mail. Okay. Well, the mailbag is one of our favorite parts of the show. That's when we get to hear from the listeners and get their advice and maybe help them figure something out. So first email comes in from Matt. It says, hey guys, love the podcast. Even though I'm Canadian, I still find lots of the advice/topics and guests helpful and interesting.
Just supposed to mean like it's even though he's Canadian. Like the airplanes, is it different in Canada?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Anyway, continue.
It's just a little joke. Just watched the rehearsal on HBO that one of you recommended. What an interesting series and concept. He's discovered lots of valid points and definitely puts in the work. I love that he's flying for Nomadic at the end. Nathan, or the FO, would be interesting to have on the show. He's not wrong. There is definitely a dynamic that has to be overcome with the power struggle between seats. It's definitely getting better at the airlines, but I can imagine the older pilots paired with younger new hires would present this issue a lot more. Or cultural differences. Not sure what the solution is he's looking for, or if he found what he was searching for, but it was a good watch. I'll keep listening and recommending the pod to anyone I fly with. Staying flexible, Matt. P.S. This pod slaps.
Thanks, Matt. Yeah, I kind of thought more about that, and it's like he definitely was onto something, but I feel like he's like, a few years late to the party on that revelation, right? Like that's the U.S. airlines have been addressing this like hard for a while at this point.
U.S. airlines have.
And then
I think it's more relevant for international carriers. And
I think correct me if I'm wrong here, but I think the one that really brought this to light was that I can't even remember the Asian carrier that crashed a 777 into the seawall in SFO. Who was that? Was it Asiana? Who was that?
I can't remember.
I don't remember. But either way, remember the guy was like way low on the glide path and like nobody was saying anything.
Wasn't the auto throttle? Didn't they think the auto throttle was engaged?
I don't know, but we're just gonna like literally fly it into the ground short of the runway. But I remember that was a factor in that accident, and I felt like that was when really they lit the torch and started to carry it, because that happens. It still happens. I mean, for sure, it still happens.
Well, what's crazy is, so if you, I guess we're kind of, the email sort of like spoiler alerted the show, but Nathan Fielder, the comedian who did the show, went and got all of his pilot's licenses and got type rated in the 737 and is now flying professionally for Nomadic.
He's not like,
he's doing ferry flights and stuff. So it'll be curious to see. I wonder if what's going to happen next. Like if he's going to have a follow-up to this. We have reached out and tried to get him on the show. We're trying everything we can. And if anyone else could.
We even have a connection to the FO.
We have a connection, but we still aren't able to get much. So if anyone can help us out, it'd be amazing. But I think it'd be really interesting after he's flying around for a while to actually see if he changes his tune a little bit. So anyways.
That would be really interesting. Like after watching the whole show, and then he just kind of wraps it up with his one 737 flight ever, and then that's it. And then like after a year, and if he's flown even 100 hours, right? Like to say, hey, so
what'd you learn?
It's good. It's a good pitch right there.
Good pitch. All right. Go ahead, Max.
All right. In response to the commuting is the absolute worst thing ever question. It's not far from it, but a couple things that keep me sane. One, most airport staff recognize other airport staff and do try and make your time commuting better. My favorite example is when I get a seat with no one in my row. I commute from a low cost of living to a high one. If a penny saved is a penny earned, then I'm in fact getting paid to commute. Well, that's a good point. It's a stretch, I know, but that's a valid point. Like if you literally saved, hundreds of thousands of dollars on your house, which equates into a lot of money per month on your mortgage payment, like you're making a point there. Parking and the TSA are smaller and easier to navigate at my home airport. Once I land at my base, I'm already inside TSA and through the airport vehicle congestion. Don't get me wrong, it still sucks, but my family gets to live near grandparents and friends. That has value in and of itself. When the kids are done with school, I'm moving. Chris. That's, I think, the deal. Like if you have young kids and you have grandparents, like that also is of massive value to your life, and your marriage and everything. But I feel like people get that, like wife's parents where she grew up and you're living there, and then like the kids leave, and then a lot of these people still end up getting stuck there. I feel like you have to like get this in writing. Okay, honey, here's the deal. Like when the kids are gone, then I get to pick where we're going to live. And so
Exactly. Have you thought about that at all?
I've thought about it a lot when I talk to people that I fly with that still live in Arkansas, and their kids are long gone. And they're like, my wife is not going to move at this point. And I'm like, I mean, I've had that exact conversation. We said we were going to move, and then they never do. So,
and then they get, yeah. I've often wondered, like, as a commuter, so much of commuting was got to get home, see the kids, or somebody's got a baseball game, or, there's something I'm missing at home. But after the kids are gone, I bet commuting gets a lot easier when there's some of that external pressure gets removed.
Well, so just like bidding gets easier too, because then you're not like trying to make the soccer game. It's
exactly.
I think everything gets easier, Dylan.
That's a good point. Again, I wonder if you have the intention of like, we're going to move, and then you just never do.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, dude, it's like, it has to be worth it. There has to be real benefit. Obviously, I mean, it's worth it to the people that do it, or at least to their wives.
Exactly. Or spouses. Okay. Next email. It comes from my boy Kamal, my old flight instructor. He says, gents, thanks for sharing the interview with Colonel Bushong. I heard numerous stories from my grandfather about his time in the 390th while he was still alive, but greatly enjoyed hearing the perspective of another flyer there during that time. It's truly amazing to think about what they accomplished, and remarkable that the Colonel is still such an amazing storyteller. Keep up the good work. Okay. So Kamal's grandfather is Captain Burgess W. Murdoch, and he is quoted in this little news clipping that he sent me, which I'm going to read now. It says, Pilot Paul Vance used a rubber interphone radio cord and a neck scarf to wrap his gaping leg wound after flak ripped a hole in the airplane. None of his crew members knew he had been hit. He explained his decision to co-pilot Burgess Murdoch, that's Kamal's grandpa, that it might disturb them. Lieutenant Vance was barely able to maintain consciousness, but he stayed composed as he directed his co-pilot to successfully complete the bomb run. He was later awarded the Distinguished Flying Cross for his effort.
And that is when men were men.
Yeah. It's a rubber interphone cord and a neck scarf. The good news is it's nice and cold up there, we learned. So, kind of keep maybe a little temperature, a little numbing action there.
Jeez, that's a stretch.
Yeah.
No, that's called shock, Dylan.
Yeah, right. That's what it is. It's a lot of adrenaline. Great email. Thanks for sending that along, Kamal. Ooh, I think you're going to like this next one, Max. Go ahead.
Dear Max and Dylan, love the show. Currently sitting on my tractor listening to y'all's ridiculous banter. I run cattle for a living, and I'm on a 600-hour private pilot with 12 years in flying. I currently am the third generation pilot in our completely original panel 1978 182 RG. Being from East Texas, I regularly fly in and around Houston and Dallas airspace, sometimes on VFR flight following, and sometimes just raw dogging it with my radios off, legally of course, probably the best part of the never getting my instrument ready. After flying by the books for the first 10 years and getting diverted around y'all's takeoff and landing jetways in a DFW, Love, Hobby, and Bush, I now like to fly half a mile outside the Bravo ring between 6,000 and 10,000 feet and watch the nice-looking blue and red 737s every 90 seconds coming in or out, steep turn looking for me and my tiny blue airplane in the blue sky. It's much more enjoyable for my passengers over the 2-minute detours I was getting from ATC trainees. Anyways, I wanted you guys' opinion on us VFR little guys flying in the way of y'all's perfect highway in the sky. Does it bother you at all, or is it an interesting game of I Spy? I feel like most of the time y'all are just saying looking or traffic in sight and don't really have a clue where we are or really are. Bonus story time. Just a few months after getting my private pilot in 2014, I was flying back and forth from College Station to Fort Worth for school in that original 182 RG. And with a whopping 65 hours under my belt, I had a gear failure, losing all my hydraulic fluid in the air. After confirming with Tower that my plane looked like a shot duck on opening day of season, I proceeded to diagnose my dire situation. 30 minutes of holding later, and to no avail, I decided it was time to try out my first gear up landing. Just then I remember my dad telling me a story a few years ago about another RG pilot having to urinate in his hydraulic tank to get his gear down. I knew what I had to do. I kicked on my old school Navamatic 300 that hasn't worked since 1988, told the tower to watch my 6, and crawled under the passenger dash to access the hydraulic tank. While I didn't have to pee, I did have 2 bottles of water handy. Instead of chugging them, waiting, and using my man parts as a funnel, I decided to just pour them straight into the reservoir. To my astonishment, the gear came slamming down first and stayed locked all the way to the mechanic shop. Travis.
Wow.
That's awesome.
That's incredible.
2 things. One, I have a tractor too, Travis, and there's sitting on the tractor with earbuds in, listening to a podcast and just grinding that out is actually a pretty good time.
Is that your happy place?
It kind of is, honestly. Like it's so I hear you. But so I kind of do the same thing now in my small airplane because I get tired of, and I don't think the controllers mind. Well, I'm flying underneath the Bravo, like just barely, like 300 feet underneath it, like pretty close to one of the inner rings. And so I see people flying on the island, or, on the glide path, landing in Phoenix over top. We did it together, remember?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And it just seems a lot easier for everybody involved, doesn't it?
You need to be able to add, what they should do is, how on the ADS-B out, you can put your flight ID?
Yeah.
You should be able to add, there should be some special character you can put on there for the controllers to be like, look, I know what I'm doing. Like,
oh, yeah.
Like there's a little like asterisk,
system.
just like, look, I know there's airspace out there. I got it. Like I got all the GPS. Like I know what's going on. Not going to bless your airspace.
I think they can figure that out if you can
they listen
hold
to you talk on the radio
within 100 feet.
Right.
No, but you're not talking on the radio. You're just
I guess you're not
raw dogging it.
Yeah. I don't know. It'd be nice if there was some little way you could just be like, look, we got it here. We're not trying to do ground reference maneuvers in the middle of your ILS. I don't really, in answer to your question, Travis, it doesn't bother me as long as it doesn't, when you're descent planning in a jet and you've got a bunch of, especially like in the 737, I know like you've said, when you have VNAV set up and you got all this stuff going on, and then that makes you alter what you have to do, that's when it becomes a pain.
Well, it's not when you're in the Class B airspace.
Yeah.
Because at that point,
you're good.
If the big airplanes are in the Class B airspace and you're not. It's when if you're up where the arrival is descending in to the airport, that's where it typically is a problem. If you're like right near a,
hang out below the ILS all day long.
Yeah. If you're in the vicinity where there's a crossing restriction and you're in the vicinity of that altitude, then that's when I've been broken off of arrival before for that or whatever, and that's
when it gets
frankly
annoying.
I don't really care, but
it's fine. But it's just that's the only time it's work for us usually.
Good news is we get paid by the hour, so
Some
at least it's airlines.
Great email though. Incredible.
Yeah, great story.
I wonder, man, that would be so to get behind. If you're behind the passenger dash, you've got to be basically almost upside down at that point, right?
Who knows, dude?
I mean, so
maybe he'll send us a picture.
Yeah. How long would you, with the autopilot on, how long would you be under your
autopilot,
dash?
Dude?
He said there was an autopilot.
He did?
Okay. Navomatic 300 that hasn't worked since 1988. I kicked on. So like if you were like under the dash trying to do something like that, how long would you go? Would you every 20 seconds want to look up? Like how much work could you really get? I guess it'd depend on how high you are, but wow.
Yeah.
Crazy. All right. That is going to do it for the mailbag. Love it when the listeners have great emails for us. Thanks to everyone that wrote in. info@215podcast.com is the email address if
I like
you want
this
to get in
commuting worth it discussion that continues to happen.
Yeah, that was a great idea on your part.
Let's keep them coming. I think that's really helpful for people that are like, especially people coming from the military. I feel like that are like don't really know how the program works, and they like, oh, you can live anywhere and just commute. But I think it's good to hear both sides of that coin.
You can. Well, I think it was the real interesting point there was, when you're commuting from a high cost of living to a low cost of living, which is exactly what I did. I lived in Phoenix and commuted to LA. There is definitely a monetary benefit there. So that was a really good perspective. Okay.
I want to hear from somebody that commutes in a small airplane.
Oh, their own plane?
Yeah. Does anybody do that? There's got to be somebody that does, I'm sure. But it's
You
like,
just got to think about how difficult that would be to commute
I would
to
think
a
it would be like
base.
Southwest, like to Oakland. I feel like you could get away with it maybe at Oakland or like
Boise, maybe. I'm trying to think
who's
of
going to commute there? Like a
like
SkyWest?
SkyWest. Remember we recently learned SkyWest had a base there from a listener. So I'm trying to think of an airport that you could actually commute into in a GA airplane.
Love, you could, right?
Maybe you'd have to have some type of deal to keep the plane see, imagine how much you're going to pay to park the plane.
Orange County, if you're in that whole program, that
well,
American
I
does
have
stuff.
actually seen some guys on the corporate side. I think it's way more. I think a lot more corporate people do it than airline. That'd be my guess. I know there's been multiple people because a lot of times they'll bring their GA airplane in and then they park it in the hangar where the jet is, and do a little do-si-do. So anyways, that's going to do it for the mailbag. On to flight advice, which is, of course, brought to you by our friends at Harvey Watt. If you visit harveywatt.com, you can find out all the offerings they have for professional pilots. It was funny. I was just texting with a pilot buddy of mine who just asked me, where do I get my life insurance? And I said, hey, I get it at Harvey Watt because there's almost no exclusions. And I also reminded him, I said, hey, make sure your wife's insured or your spouse, whoever's the caregiver for your children. A lot of people just say, oh, I'm the breadwinner. I'm going to insure myself. And they don't stop to think, wait a minute. If something happened to the caregiver of the kiddos, and often, which is your wife,
or
husband, how would you fly if you didn't have somebody staying at home with the kiddos? That would be a big problem. So you need that coverage for both people in the household. Harvey Watt is that place. HarveyWatt.com. On to flight advice. Max, go ahead.
I'm new to business aviation, and I recently took a position that sounded really great when I was hired. Then a month into the contract, everything changed. Instead of the proposed 2-month out schedule with 8 hard days off a month, the chief pilot wants me on call 24/7, with the only day scheduled off being 2 weeks of vacation. I had a similar situation with a previous contract, although 1099, not a W-2 employee. And I'm wondering, is this a common thing, or did I just get unlucky 2 times in a row? Do people just put up with this to get the flight time to get to something better? It may be worth it if we were actually flying, but I just sit around on call getting 0 hours. How many hours a year? He's flying 380, 90% in personal piston twins and singles. He's 45 years old, lives in DFW, married, no kids, no plans for kids. That is it. Well, typically, when people get bait and switched in business aviation, which is not uncommon, you are not the only one. It happens to a lot of people. But normally, after the first time, or if they've listened to this show in the past, we have recommended to get some of these terms, these promised terms and conditions of your employment in writing when you first get the job. So, because that's the problem. Like, you don't have a contract like the airlines. Everything is not spelled out.
There's
so
no
the
union.
things that are important to you, you should get in writing. So you have to refer back to. And jobs like this, where turns into indentured servitude, except for 2 weeks a year. People don't last. The turnover's high, and it's usually counterproductive because the training costs, exceed the cost of just keep making the rules to keep people happy. So, you're not alone.
Yeah, and we just recorded with James yesterday, and that episode will be coming out soon. But we talk a lot about the pilot leverage index that we've sort of talked about. How much leverage do you have as the pilot? And a lot of that has to do with essentially, are the major airlines hiring right now, right? That's what it basically all boils down to. And the last couple of years, for the last year, there have not been a lot of pilot jobs, and the leverage has been on the side of the employer and not the pilot in a lot of markets. And so these are the types of terms you'll see change, right? You'll see, well, you just get the vacation, or you just get that. And if you don't like it, leave. And I got a stack of resumes of people that are going to fill your place. And so that's the problem with this industry, is that it can be very cyclical, especially in the business aviation side, where, like you said, there's no union to represent you or there's no contract. So it can be a challenge. And honestly, usually in these situations, this sounds like could be the chief pilot. Does this come from the owner or the principal, or is this coming from the chief pilot? And that's where you don't know a lot of times too. And so you may just have to move on.
Chief pilots that want to be the heroes and not advocate for the pilots that are under them.
Right. And
that is also a recurring problem in business
That is another problem you'll see. The chief pilot, that all they can do, the way they think they deliver value to the owner is by telling them how much money they've saved them all the time. And that's I'm saving us this and I'm saving us that. And that's their go-to thing. And meanwhile, they're just cranking through crews because it's just, people figure out it's a stepping stone. So that's a challenge. And I mean, that is part of business aviation. But, I would say, Max, for you and I in our journeys, like, part of the career is learning to know the right questions to ask in the interview process, right?
Very much so. Yep. Yeah. Knowing the right questions to ask. But again, if those things are promised, you got to get it in writing or somehow solidified. And because but the other thing too is situations like this, it's oftentimes very hard to unwind this. And most of the time you have to speak with your feet by walking out the door, and make sure everybody knows why. Because that's the only way things get better, especially if you think it's the chief pilot and not the owner. Make sure that the owner knows why you left.
I would bet it's at least a 50% chance the owner doesn't know that you're not getting hard days off. And once you leave, they're like, whoa, that would have been
because it's just unreasonable from a
It's just, if you think about it, like, I've talked about this with other owners before. I'm like, you're employing a professional, a highly trained and credentialed professional. Who do you think is going to sign up for never having a day off? Like, is your attorney going to sign up for that? Is your doctor going to sign? Like, what other professional is going to do that? So to think that you're going to get somebody that's going to do that is very short-sighted. But listen, we're preaching to the choir here. Every pilot's going, of course. So
no one's going, wow, that's a really good point. I never thought about that.
Yeah, it's all on the side. And that is why, for many jobs, interviewing the chief pilot is very important. Whoever the person is that is interfacing with the principal, that's, to me, I really want to know how that person works, how that person ticks at any job that I'm at, because that can really make or break your position. And especially in a smaller flight department, that person may handle all of the communication between you. There may not be any visibility for you.
We've both learned some very powerful lessons in that regard with people that we've worked with previously.
Yeah, and you're just like, what? But
still legendary to this day.
Oh, it's just
some posthumously that we still imitate.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like this traumatic, like, well, that's what he would want. That's what the owner would want. And it's just like,
get out of here.
It's just like, come on, you're just trying to do this. So I don't know. It's
balance, kind of a weird mental thing sometimes. Like when you're at a job working for the same person as the head shed, like it kind of gets to people. It gets in their head, and they like do weird stuff.
Yes.
Like everything from this, or thinking or like spending ridiculous sums of money on the company credit card for stuff that like they just get comfortable and like start to like alter their reality. It's really this is really a strange thing. I've seen it a few times, and it's like, I mean, remember the one dude that got busted like buying jet skis on the company card?
I mean,
it's just like crazy. You're like, what? Like,
how far can you push this?
It does. People I think in their head they think they're like, oh yeah, no, it's
Oh, he would want us to do that. Yeah.
I don't know.
No, they want us to have a good time.
There's some weird stuff out there in business aviation. That is always one of the really tough parts to deal with, is the variability from job to job. Same airplane, 100% different job.
100% different deal. And that's why being the second banana has its benefits, but it also has its big drawbacks, because often the second banana does not have to deal with a lot of the headaches and a lot of the politics, but then also there's a lot of times where that the second person just has to take their word from the chief pilot of like how it's going to go. So
but sometimes working with people, so this set a really good example helps you learn how, when you're in that position, how to be.
Absolutely.
But I think working with people who are not very good in that job, you may arguably learn a little bit more of how you want to be.
Exactly.
How you don't want to emulate.
Exactly. 100%. I know we've only got like 2 minutes left. How do you handle, as somebody who is a lead and with just a 2-person department, you have a second pilot, clearly there's a lead pilot and there's a second pilot. How do you handle encouraging the second pilot to interact with the principal, but you're kind of at the end of the day, the buck stops with you. Do you have any insights into creating an effective way where the other pilot still feels included and feels like they have a direct line of communication?
I think it's very specific to the principal that you're working for, because I think you have to handle it different ways. Like sometimes some people don't want to hear from more than one person, and they want to hear from that one person as little as possible. And some other people, everybody's, we're all part of the family and we're all friends, and it's cool. So it just depends. I mean, that's the thing about being a good airplane manager. Like we've said, you really have to be a chameleon, and you have to be able to adapt to the operation, which includes the principal and the pace and everything else. And so I think that the thing is, most of the time it sort of works itself out if you aren't trying to stand in the way. There's a lot of airplane managers that are like, who move my cheese kind of attitude, and they want to have all the control over everything. And these are the guys that they're the only ones that file the flight plans, and they're the only ones that rent the car, and they're the only ones that speak to the owner, and they're feel threatened. And I think it's an insecurity thing typically on those people, where they think it's a threat if the other pilot talks directly to the principal. It's like, dude. And so I think typically in that scenario is where people are forcefully standing in the way. I think the flip side of that, if you are confident in your ability to lead and in your position and your job, then you don't stand in the way. It seems to kind of work itself out on how that specific principle is.
Yeah, I agree. It's tough. And that's, again, like we've talked about before, is not something you can learn in school. This is a skill that is not
really
everybody
is an
has.
Experience thing too, dude, because it's so much example of, and that's why in business aviation, it is sometimes good to have exposure to a few different jobs before you get to your forever job.
Yep.
So you can, because you learn a lot of how to be and how not to be with the people that you work with. And I don't think I run a flight operation like anybody that I've worked with, but bits and pieces certainly I do, and bits and pieces I certainly work really hard to avoid being like some people. So really a learn it along the way kind of thing.
We've got to end this right now. But I think that was a good conversation. I enjoyed that email. Thank you. It was a good discussion. And we'll have to continue that conversation if anyone else has any thoughts on that. That is going to do it for this episode of the 21.5 show. Thanks so much to all of the sponsors who keep this program going. Timothy P. Pope, our boy, our financial advisor for professional pilots. Harvey Watt, Advanced Aircrew Academy. Vaerus Jet Sales, the AirComp Calculator, Pro Pilot World, all of our friends that write in, leave comments. It's spectacular. Love to hear from everybody. Max, thanks for making time in El Paso.
Get out there. Always my pleasure.
Get after the green chilies.
All right.
Well, until next episode, remember,
flexibility is the key to air power. See you next time.
Adios.
The statements made in this show are our own opinions and do not reflect, nor were they under any direction from any of our employers.